So you want to leave everyone behind at the lights, but you don't have the guts or the money for a 600 plus horsepower full-on AMG? Well, for a reasonable 80 grand, you can get a 435 horsepower Mercedes-AMG E53 luxury limousine. Subscribe so you don't miss cars sounding like this.
If you're already a subscriber, for which I'm eternally grateful, perhaps you're surprised to see yet another E-Class review after the original E-Class W213, the E53 Coupe and the CLS 53, and the E-Class PHEV diesel as well.
But don't worry, this is a different E-Class. It's got newer driver aids, a modified powertrain, and some changes have been made to the interior as well. Some things have been improved and some have changed. I'll start with the powertrain, which at first glance seems to be the same straight 6-cylinder 48-volt mild hybrid with a 9-speed gearbox. It goes from 0 to 100 km per hour in 4.5 seconds. I checked and I got pretty consistent results. Now the 80 to 120 takes about 2.8 seconds, and that's regardless of whether the car is set to comfort or race. Probably it would be less in eco mode, but there is no eco mode here, and this is the first change.
Instead of the eco mode, there is now the snow mode, which tames the car a little bit. I don't want to say the E53 becomes slow all of a sudden, but there is definitely a noticeable delay in reaction to the gas pedal compared to the comfort mode. And since there is no eco mode, there is also no sailing mode, which I mentioned in the CLS 53 review. Over there you could coast with the engine completely off, and here the engine shuts off only when the car is stationary. This change finds reflection in the fuel economy figures. In the CLS I was getting around 10 liters per 100 kilometers, and here it's closer to 13-14 liters.
Let's face it, you're getting this car for performance, not necessarily fuel economy, but frequent visits to the petrol station are just such a nuisance. How is it to drive? Mad. It takes a while to get used to the car's reactions in different drive modes, or you can just set everything to individual as you like. Since the E53 is not particularly economical, you can skip eco driving and just have fun. I suggest to turn everything to some degree of sport, but leave the suspension in comfort. Also, the exhaust can remain in normal mode. You don't want to be that guy. If you really want to show off, there are physical buttons on the steering wheel and on the tunnel. And yes, many physical buttons remained, and some disappeared. Over the years, regardless of the main facelift, the E-Class interior was gradually modernized. In my opinion, the best period was when the steering wheel had flat spokes with physical buttons and a couple of touchpads. The one on the left was for the driver's display, and the one on the right was for the central display. The spokes, and that's important, were parallel to the dashboard, so your thumbs were always where you want them to be. This was comfortable and logical.
The Mercedes Infotainment remains one of the most logical systems out there on the market today, but as far as comfort is concerned, changes are for the worse. The steering wheel spokes are now at an angle towards the inside, so you have to stretch your thumbs to reach the controls. Mercedes is pleased to save money on physical elements, but the touch panels are small and hard to aim at. Apparently they have some fingerprint-resistant coating. I don't know what they would look like without it. Meanwhile, a row of buttons over the lights switch disappeared. Whatever was there is now on the onboard computer menu or on the steering wheel.
Since the E53 is almost an AMG car, it gets 3 additional buttons on the steering wheel. On the left you get the exhaust and AMG profiles, and on the right you get driving modes. I'm not exactly sure what the AMG profiles do, but I suspect you'll feel the difference on a track. This time I was unable to test the car in a controlled environment. Drive modes are the usual: comfort, sport, sport plus, race, individual, and here also snow instead of eco. All these functions can be accessed with buttons on the tunnel as well as from the infotainment screen, so you can control the car the way you prefer. Handling. The E53 is a precise weapon aimed at your driver's license. You're always a couple of seconds away from losing it. The speed this car can corner is uncanny. Just be careful, because if you overcook it, this is a heavy car, and yeah, better perfect your skills on a track.
And speaking of tracks, this car has AMG dedicated functions, including a racing coach. You can also monitor 80 datasets, measure your lap times, and learn to drive on tracks following the stored race lines. The car will show you the way using the same augmented reality function you get in the satnav, although if I were on a track, I'd rather look where I'm going than at the screen.
The steering is precise, albeit light, like in many modern cars. In race mode, with the traction control off, the all-wheel drive system allows for a bit of rear slip. Well, actually not a bit, but I didn't have the guts or the place to try more. The suspension is stiff even in comfort mode, and it only gets stiffer as you go into sport or race modes.
The seats are also hard, rather for spirited drivers than those looking for cruising comfort. They are harder and offer better lateral support than those in the BMW M440i. I know, a smaller car, but similar place in the lineup between road and sports cars. An interesting change: I think this is the first time I see all the seat controls on the seats and on the doors, rather than having some of them hidden in the infotainment menu.
Visibility around the A pillars is bad. Perhaps it's because of the seats. I need to sit low because otherwise I'm too close to the ceiling, and then the wing mirrors create a big blind spot for me. And now let's talk about the driver aids, which were updated regardless of the engine variant. The adaptive cruise control is now better, and there is also now capacitive sensors on the steering wheel. This means no more cheating the system with a water bottle, but there is also no more keep your hands on the wheel warnings unless you really aren't holding the wheel.
Adaptive cruise control will not only stop the car in traffic, but it will also get it moving again within a minute of stopping. The car can also help you steer in the corners, as well as when you're changing lanes and if there is a car approaching from the back. The blind spot monitor now also works 3 minutes after you turn the ignition off, and it warns you about vehicles and people approaching with speed above 7 km/h, so you have a lower chance of getting hit by a car or a cyclist. The 360 camera has been improved as well, and the parking sensors can now stop the car if you're approaching an obstacle and not reacting. The E-Class now gets LED headlights as standard and optional multi-beam LEDs, which light the road but cut out other vehicles from the beam so as not to dazzle other drivers. On the outside, changes are cosmetic. The front and rear are slimmer, the grille is lower, and there are now new tail lamps. The bonnet now has a power dome. As far as I can tell, it's not unique to the E53. The AMG E53 gets 19-inch rims as standard, but this car rides on 20s. The AMG cars get a more open grille, a more aggressive bumper, and a spoiler on the boot lid, as well as a diffuser with double exhaust with double tips.
An important change on the inside is getting rid of the analog dials, which I think were optional anyway. Now the E-Class has a double display made up of either two 10.25-inch screens or two 12.3-inch screens, like in this test car.
Besides the new touch controls on the steering wheel, there is now a new touchpad on the panel and there is no longer a scroll wheel. There are still physical buttons on the lower end of the center console. Many functions in the car can be controlled from the steering wheel via the touchpad or by touching the screen, or by voice as well.
The energizing coach, which makes sure you feel good in the car, now also works with Garmin wearables. It takes information from these devices into consideration when monitoring your concentration. Also, in PHEV models, the energizing coach has a, wait for it, a power nap mode. The jokes write themselves.
By the way, for the first time, 7 variants of the PHEV E-Class are now available in the US, so you can power nap while occupying a charging spot. In the back there is sufficient headroom and legroom, although there isn't much space for feet under the front seats. Again, this could have something to do with these being sport seats and being mounted rather low. There's a big tunnel running through the middle, there are a couple of USB-C ports and AC controls, door pockets fit bottles, and there are cup holders in the armrest as well. The middle part of the backrest folds, allowing for transporting longer items. Side seats can be released only from the boot side. The boot still has 540 liters and the floor goes up towards the end. There is now a shopping bag hook. There are also levers to release the backrests, but the hinges are not spring-loaded, so you have to go around to fold the seats or push them with a longer item. Price of the Mercedes E53 AMG start at €80,000. This test car with options costs around €115,000.
The Mercedes-AMG E53 is a car that makes you feel good about yourself because you're not murdering bunny rabbits, but at the same time you have more power on tap than you can justify. If you need to get to a meeting in another city fast, the E53 has your back. If you want to go to a track day, the E53 has your back. And at the end of the day, sitting in your driveway is a good-looking but not too ostentatious limousine. And you can also have it as a station wagon, which, well, that's even better. And how do you like the Mercedes-AMG E53? Too expensive, acceptable, or maybe it's E63 or nothing? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.